Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to be mass producing some cards using a card sketch from Call Me Crafty Owl's YouTube channel. I will link down below in the description to her channel so that you can check it out. All she asks is that you subscribe to her channel and you can get this free printable every month that shows a way you can mass produce some cards using up your pattern paper. Now, this printable is super organized, really helpful. It lists out exactly what supplies you need, how many cards that the sketch will yield. It gives you the dimensions, so if you like the layout but you just want to make a single card. And it also includes alternatives such as adjusting the size, adding ephemera, different ideas on how you can use the sketch. What I love is that there is a full-size picture of what the card should look like when it's finished. And on the second page, it outlines exactly how many sheets of paper you need and where they should be cut and scored. So this printable calls for 3 sheets of 12 by 12 pattern paper and 5 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So I have picked out my pattern paper and I'm doing this for a card drive. I will explain some more at the end of the video if you are interested in participating. It's a card drive for Uvalde that's being put on by Biddy Penny, another YouTuber, and I will explain all of that at the end if you're interested in participating. I've cut up all of my pattern paper and now I'm going through and deciding how to group my pieces. So this pattern paper is double-sided, so I'm making sure that I have one of each side showing for each size piece of paper, if that makes sense. And I'm doing this to make each of my cards look as different as possible. You do not have to do this. If you want to, you could just go through and group them and not worry about this at all, and you're still going to have a bunch of fabulous looking cards. I find it kind of fun to see all of the different patterns and get a bunch of different looking cards. If you don't have double-sided pattern paper, you just have single-sided, this will still work. You're just not going to get as much variety, and you're going to see that later in something I'm going to show you, so stick around. Once I get everything how I like it, I can go ahead and put my cards together. So you can see I have cut and scored my white cardstock as outlined in the sketch, and now I'm adding my pattern paper to each of the pieces. So the smallest piece of pattern paper is going to go on this small scored piece of white cardstock. The large piece of pattern paper is going to go on the inside of the large scored piece of white cardstock, and then the middle-sized piece of pattern paper is going to go on that top flap. This is a really cool sketch because it is a fun fold, and I love fun folds, and so I thought this would be a perfect way to use up some of my pattern paper as well as to make some cards for this card drive. I'm using some dot runner here, but you also can use liquid adhesive. And once you have your pattern paper pieces on the cardstock, then you can adhere the two pieces of cardstock together. So they kind of, the flaps fold in on themselves, and that'll make more sense here in just a moment. So I'm going to put that last piece on, and then I'll show you how this card all folds together. I really love how this shows off the pattern paper. I feel like it does the pattern paper justice in this style of card. But I'm going to use a die cut sentiment for my cards. Now the sketch does call for a strip of paper with a stamped sentiment, but I thought it would be fun to use this die cut. This is the Big Scripty Hugs from Simon Says Stamp. So I'm going to use some liquid adhesive and I'm just dotting all along, and then I'm going to adhere it to the white shadow layer, and then I can adhere it to the top of my card. For those of you that have seen most of my videos or a lot of my videos, you know that I am a huge fan of dimension and layering and stacking things up, and I'm generally a one card kind of gal. I don't do a lot of mass production, but I feel like this is a really great way to do mass production. And I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to use up your pattern paper and to make a lot of cards, especially when you're doing it for a cause like the Uvalde card drive. So I've gone in, adhered that, and then I just used my eraser there, my adhesive eraser, and I like to do that to get rid of any little stray bits of paper that might still be stuck to my word die cutout. It works really well. Once I have the back of the shadow glued, I can go ahead and put it on the card, and I think the sentiment here just really makes the card. I definitely would say if you're not going to do a stamped sentiment, if you're going to do a word and shadow die for this particular sketch, to make sure it just is a little bit of a larger sized word die so that way it takes up a good amount of the card. So here are those finished cards. You can see they're all different looking. I think they are really, really cool. And I was so inspired by this card drive that I decided to go ahead and create several sets. So you can see the second set, I used some Star Wars paper. The first set, I had used some Avengers paper that I had in my stash. And then in the third set, I'm going to show you, I used some floral paper here. And on these ones, I used vellum for my shadow layer. You can see I kind of changed up the sentiment on each set of these cards. So this floral paper is just beautiful. I think it's really gorgeous. And then for my last set, I actually used some foil paper that I had in my stash that I loved and I had purchased, but I didn't have any idea what I was going to do with it. And it worked perfectly here. Now, this is not double-sided, but still, I got a good variety of cards, even though it wasn't double-sided. I did want to show you guys real quick how I adhere things where I've used a vellum layer. You can do it one of two ways. You could cut out another one of the word die sentiments, glue that to the back, and then glue that to your card. That's going to give you the least chance of glue showing. But the way I did this, because I wanted to keep the dimension down, was I went ahead and dotted along the word die on the back, and then I just tapped it on a piece of tissue and I went ahead and glued it onto the front of the card. I had very little glue that showed through on the vellum. All right, guys, here are my finished cards. I'm really happy with how these turned out. They were super easy to make, did not take me very long at all. I just spent the evening on them and I was able to put together 24 cards to send for this card drive. So I told you I was going to tell you about the card drive at the end. The card drive is going on May 25th through July 1st of 2022. So if you're watching this video during that time, you should definitely consider participating. It is a card drive for Uvalde. It is being hosted by Biddy Penny, and I will link down in the description to her YouTube channel as well as to where you can find information on where to send your cards. Biddy Penny does have a whole Q&A video with all of the information about what kind of cards she's looking for and how those cards are going to be distributed. I felt like there wasn't anything that I could do. I don't know about you guys, but when I heard about what happened, I was just heartbroken. I grew up in Colorado. I was young when Columbine happened, and it hit very close to home. I knew students at Columbine, and so anytime I see something in the news about a school shooting, it just breaks my heart. So I felt like there wasn't really much I could do. And then I saw that she was doing this card drive, and I knew it would take me one evening to put together a bunch of cards and so that they could get sent down to the people of Uvalde so that they could use them however they see fit, whether that's giving them to teachers to share with students or giving them to members of the community. I know it's a small thing, but sometimes a smile is worth a lot. So If you guys are inclined to participate, please do check out all of that information down in the description. Thanks for sticking around to the end, guys. I hope you have a wonderful crafty day. Hug your loved ones. And until next time, happy crafting.